Incoming transmission.
Hello everyone, this is Admiral Archer again with a new episode of Incoming Transmission. Thanks for tuning in. For our second episode, we're going to do the weekly newsletter for the first week of April, and it's a doozy. There's a lot of big news that's been coming up for Star Trek. So let's get started. Let's just dive right on in. The first notification that I want to tell everybody about, and this is all news that I'm sure if you're in the Star Trek world, you've heard all about it, but this is just my take on everything. The first thing that I've noticed is there's the new Star Trek The Motion Picture Director's Edition release in 4K on Paramount Plus. And I've mentioned in my last video, I love Star Trek The Motion Picture. I was critical of the Director's Edition when I first saw it because, well, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is the movie that I remember. But then I remember thinking, well, hang on, I don't remember all this, like the special effects being slightly adjusted in some of the CGI segments. I don't remember any of that. But when I found out that the theatrical cut existed, I was like, oh wow, this is a little different. I think I like it better. The sound mix was better. The introduction was more clean. It was just a better cut of the film, I thought, even though it was a rough sketch according to Robert Wise, the director of the film. But I still cherish the director's edition because it was my first time owning the movie, and it was the first time viewing it religiously. I used to build a little diorama using various different pieces of styrofoam of a cityscape for San Francisco, and I would play the scene from Star Trek The Motion Picture as Kirk is flying through the city in the background on the air tram, and the music would be playing and everything, and I would have it set up. Every time my brother got home from school, he'd find me listening to the music and building this little set, and he'd be like, what are you doing? But, you know, kids. So when I got to see Star Trek The Motion Picture Director's Edition 4K, it was April 5th, first contact day. As soon as it was released, I was really excited about it. And the special effects are good, but they're not really great. There are some kind of rough parts. The CGI in particular looks a little lackluster. I guess it's just because I was watching it on a small screen. Maybe on a bigger 4K TV it would be a lot more impressive. I'm not sure. But I mean, and one thing that really impressed me, and this is a spoiler alert, so turn off the video now if you don't want to hear anything more about this. But one thing that really impressed me was the inclusion of a special deleted scene, well, not really a deleted scene, I guess, but just a deleted effect. In the scene where Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are talking about Spock's presence on the ship and the fact that he has detected the presence of V'ger, when they're discussing the consciousness that has been calling out into space in the officer's mess lounge, the set that was originally built for the movie was going to be a lot bigger and more grand and have bigger windows and actually be a much more elaborate set, but they didn't have the budget for it. And so they had a much smaller, more compact set for the final film. Well, it looks like in the director's edition, or the latest version, the 4K edition, they have actually cut out the walls and kind of took the actors, cut them out, and then put them in front of the original set windows that was not used in the movie. So there's these massive windows in the background, and you see the engine nacelles, and it's just really cool. And I was really excited to see that. But the problem is the matte lines and the keying were not very clean, and sometimes it would, like, say for example, you were going to see me from the side. It would cut off the actor's nose or maybe part of their face, or maybe sometimes there would be some extra matte lines that were specifically particularly thick. But I'm just being critical at this point. It's just this is nitpicking. I mean, ultimately, I was just thrilled to see the movie. I was like, technically speaking, I have seen work from fans that is actually more impressive, but the fact that someone actually was able to bring the director's edition back and I could enjoy it even in 4K with all the little scrutiny and details and everything, it was still an enjoyable experience. Second piece of news I want to share is actually a fan film that has been in the works since the 1980s. It was called Yorktown, A Time to Heal. I watched it just the other day. And for a fan film, it was actually remarkably emotional, and it was a very good fan film. I want to make a special shout out to my friends at the Trek BBS. A bunch of other names I can't think of off the top of my head, but they did a brilliant job bringing the film from the 1980s into the 21st century, and it's definitely worth a look if you watched the motion picture and wondered, who is Admiral Nagura? They actually cast an actor, I think a prominent actor in the time, in the 80s, to play Admiral Nagura, and it was amazing because he was a big name actor at the time. And George Takei comes back as Sulu. I thought that was pretty cool. And they got a lot of the cool starship designers to come in and work on a new design for the USS Yorktown. It was a great effort, and I really applaud them greatly for the creativity behind it, the talent. It was amazing. First Contact Day would not be complete without mentioning the cast of Star Trek who went back to save First Contact from being interfered with by the Borg in the movie Star Trek First Contact. And there is a big announcement, again, spoilers if you haven't seen it yet, but there is a trailer for Star Trek Picard Season 3, and they're bringing the full Next Generation cast back. All 7 members, including Patrick Stewart, and, well, obviously including Patrick Stewart, but all of his other 6 cast members, including Brent Spiner, and I'm not sure if he's playing Data or not, but it would be fascinating to find out. I'm really excited about that in particular. That's a huge deal for me because I honestly thought Picard was going to be just his latter years with another crew, the unexplored regions of his life and I honestly didn't think we'd see some of the Next Generation cast members again. I thought this was going to be his show and only his show, and I'm thrilled to see that those Next Generation cast members are back because it also shows how influential they are and how important they are to him as a character. So that's awesome. I'm going to round out the video. I know this is kind of going to be a short video, but it's a newsletter, so it should be just a shorter video. Strange New Worlds released a series of character trailers leading up to First Contact Day, and I love every single one of them. They're all amazing. I love how confident they are. The characters, they strike me as being the best, Starfleet's finest, and that's where the Enterprise crew really should be. They should be shining. And they're all very interesting. It's like they know they're good at their jobs, and they know that they can make a difference, and that's important, I think, for Star Trek, especially for the Enterprise crew, because they're supposed to be the best, like I said before. But then the trailer came out for Strange New Worlds, and I was a little disappointed at first, because I think it was because there's been a lot of negativity about Strange New Worlds and Discovery and Picard and all the newer shows. A lot of people don't like them. And I don't understand the negativity, but it was starting to get to me. And I was starting to read the comments on the YouTube channels, which is something you should never do. At least that's what I'm always told. But I had to actually show my brother, who did not like Discovery, who did not like Picard, or he watched the first episodes of each show, and he was like, this just isn't for me. And I showed him a trailer for Strange New Worlds, and he says, this actually looks really awesome. And I'm like, okay, so my brother is not one of the negative Nancys, of the Star Trek fandom, because there are people out there, and it's okay if you don't enjoy Star Trek Discovery or Star Trek Picard. But I got depressed thinking about all the comments from the people who have been kind of toxic about it, with their negative opinions. Like, oh, Star Trek Discovery is canceled in this season. They're not coming back. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure they are. So spreading misinformation is completely different than not liking a show. What can I say? I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I love what I love. Well, that rounds up the newsletter for this week. Stay tuned for next few weeks' newsletter. I'm going to be writing reviews for each episode of Star Trek that has come out so far, and I may have to do a refresher course on each one. I actually, you know what? Let me know in the comments section if I should do an individual video for each episode, because I'm not going to have much to say about each individual episode, or if I should do like a bi-seasonal, like 2 episodes per season of Star Trek, where I review like a block of 5 episodes in one video and then 5 in the next, so that I can make a longer video and then will be hopefully more entertaining that way. Again, this video is going to clock in at under 10 minutes, and I would rather most of my videos be a little longer than that. But until next time, this has been Incoming Transmission. I'm Admiral Archer. Stay tuned for the next episode. Live long and prosper.